1 Corinthians 4, verses 3 and 4 says this, "But with me it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or by a human court. In fact, I do not even judge myself. For I know of nothing against myself, yet I am not justified by this. But he who judges me is the Lord." In this year of 2016, we have a lot of phrases of don't judge this person, don't be judgmental, be more tolerant, don't judge this, don't judge that. And yet we still feel judged by those around us. We feel judged by our teachers, we feel judged by our friends, we feel judged by our parents, and we even feel judged by ourselves and even those supposed to be closest to us and most merciful, like church members. And Paul addresses this right in the heart by starting out and saying, "With me it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or by human court." He lays it very clearly. It's not just you Corinthians I don't care about and your opinion of me, but any human court. It is a very small thing for me to be judged by you. One day when I was in high school, I called my father very upset about something. Someone had said something to me that had really hurt my feelings. And so after venting to my dad about this, how I felt so hurt and just so misunderstood, my dad, instead of comforting me in the way that I expected, he said very frankly, "Callie, you have green skin." And I paused for a moment. I said, "Dad, no, I don't have green skin." He said, No, you do. I know you very well. I'm your father. I've known you for every single day of your life. And I'm telling you, as your father, you have green skin." And I hesitated again and said, "No, Dad, I don't have green skin." And so he asked me a very interesting question. He said, "Callie, so even though I'm your father, even though I say it with confidence, and even though I'm acting like I know everything, does it mean that you have green skin?" And I laughed. I said, "Of course, Dad, that doesn't mean that." And he said, "Just in the way that me telling you you have green skin doesn't mean that you do. No matter what girl, what boy, what anyone says to you, does not mean it's true just because they say it with conviction." And so Paul here is echoing that point of saying what people say is not inherently true. But Paul doesn't stop there. He continues and says, "I know of nothing," verse 4, "for I know, in fact, I don't even judge myself," in verse 3. Verse 4, "For I know of nothing against myself, yet I am not justified by this." So Paul doesn't stop by saying, it doesn't matter what other people think, so I'll just figure out my own standard. Because sometimes we can try to say, okay, if I have devotions every single day, then I'm holy. But then we don't have devotions one day, we wake up late, we say something impatient to one of our friends, and we go back to judging ourselves and living in this life of self-condemnation. So Paul doesn't stop there. But at the end of verse 4, he says this, "But he who judges me is the Lord." He who judges me is the Lord. If you think of what the Lord has done for you, what he has done for me, God looked at your life, he looked at my life, and he said, yes, Callie is worthy of the life of my son. Callie is worth the life of God himself. And he looked at your life, all the things, all the mistakes you have made, all the mistakes you're making, all the mistakes you will make, and says, yes, this son, this daughter is still worth the life of my son Jesus. And so if we want to see how we should be judged, what our estimation is in the eyes of God, simply think, how does God see Jesus? How does God see Jesus? Now, when God looked at Jesus, he said, this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. So it doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't even matter what you think about yourself. It only matters what God knows. And what God knows is that you are worth the life of Jesus himself.